I'm 35, and I think I might have to compromise on a few things. Commentary has been so far that Travis Kelce is dumber than a box of rocks. 15? 15? Like what? Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged after 2 years of dating. Everyone is elated. There's been an overwhelmingly positive reaction, and we should celebrate this because this has been the culmination of all of Taylor Swift's many boyfriends, 15, I believe to be exact, and many breakup albums. We definitely wish them the best. The engagement photo included the caption, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." Look, I genuinely hope that this is a permanent commitment and a long-lasting marriage that produces children. But I think we should contrast and analyze the outpouring of support for Taylor and Travis, who are both 35 years old, extremely successful, with the weird, skeptical, and at worst, very negative reactions on the internet to actress Millie Bobby Brown, who is 21 years old, announcing that she and her husband, Jake Bongiovi, who is 23 years old, are welcoming in a baby girl via adoption into their new family. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's lock in. As for why so many people are thrilled that Taylor Swift got engaged, as soon as she met and started dating Travis Kelce, people were assigning them to these classic Americana archetypes. You have Taylor Swift is the cheerleader on the bleachers. Travis Kelce is this manly jock who plays football. He's a lot taller than her. She's feminine. It was like this very movie cinematic relationship, and people were all over that. And there's been a lot of speculation over the years about whether their relationship was genuine, whether it was a PR stunt, whether the NFL somehow facilitated it to juice the ratings and make more money. Hey, listen, anything's possible, but I think this engagement proves that their love for each other was heartfelt and real. And for those who thought it was endgame all along, kudos to you. I think you're vindicated here. And I think Taylor's fans were always particularly invested in her and this relationship because despite her wealth and fame and wild success, I mean, even if you hate her music, she has incredible business instincts. Her business empire is something to be studied for MBA programs. It's insane. But also, despite all of that, she comes off as this normal girl next door that a lot of young women relate to. She resonates, or they resonate with Taylor Swift, and the fact that despite all of her, success and fame and fortune, she's still just trying to find the perfect love, and she finally found it, so it seems. And as far as engagements go, not just celebrity engagements, this was a pretty quick turnaround. They were maybe dating for 2 years, and then they got engaged. That's not at all common today. Today, in normie culture, people will date for 5, 6, 7 years. In Hollywood, sometimes it's a lot longer. They're just casually cohabitating. They own a house together. They have children together, maybe. They have a dog, but they're not committing. Vanessa Hudgens, for example, dated Austin Butler, I believe, for at least a decade. So they are bucking that trend, at least. Rich Lowry wrote that this is a win for normies that Taylor Swift and Travis got together in the first place. He says, after all the weirdness that we've been bombarded with by our culture involving sex and gender, here's a relationship that is positively retrograde and heteronormative, and the online right can't handle it. What he means by online right outrage, when they first got together, some thought that their union was a bit of a psyop because the NFL had started to dabble in politics with the Colin Kaepernick situation, the kneeling for the American flag, even though football spectating is supposed to be an apolitical activity, and some feared because of Taylor Swift's history of endorsing Democratic candidates, which she followed through on again with Kamala Harris and throwing her weight behind her on the 2024 campaign trail. Some feared that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting together would ruin the NFL, and they just jumped to the conclusion that maybe, their relationship was just another woke point in the culture war. But Rich Lowry argues the opposite. At least Travis and Taylor are not peddling gender ideology or radical progressivism, and they stayed together, and now they're getting engaged after 2 short years. He says, for anyone whose worldview hasn't become twisted by politics, it's a picture of normality. It's the cheerleader dating the high school quarterback. It's traditional femininity meets traditional masculinity. It's the pinnacle of success. And we can hope that their celebrity marriage will endure, unlike most celebrity marriages, which do not. Some data shows that celebrity marriages may last around 7.4 years on average, significantly shorter than the national average due to the supposed added pressures of the industry, living in the spotlight, demanding schedules, all that jazz. I think all of that is true. There's no reason to be up in arms about their relationship. Maybe you were upset that your football game was interrupted so many times by cameos of Taylor Swift in the VIP box. But besides that, not really offensive, nothing to get, nothing to fret about. However, why was there so much shade then toward Millie Bobby Brown? So Millie Bobby Brown is a young actress whose breakout role in Hollywood was as the character 11 in the hit sci-fi show Stranger Things. In 2024, she married Jake Bongiovi, who's the son of singer Jon Bongiovi. They sort of eloped, and then they had a big Italian wedding later. By getting married so young, for our culture standards at least, they did what is no longer in vogue, which is treat marriage as the foundation of adulthood. They found their person, they devoted themselves to that person, they tied the knot. Now they can truly begin their lives together. A tweet from the account Lindy Mann, marriage used to be the entry point into adult life, one of the first steps. Today, marriage has become the culmination of adulthood, the final step after a long run of individual experiences. People are expected to first build careers, live alone, travel, date for years, then only then settle into marriage. Marriage went from foundation to trophy. It is no longer the stabilizing base that anchored young people early, but an almost luxury milestone. One's life is already sorted out, which is precisely why it's rarer now. In defense of young people out there today who are single, the dating landscape is very fraught. The dating pool feels kind of limited, doesn't feel like it has a lot of great options. Dating apps certainly exacerbate that. That's a total mess. A lot of people I can say, my age group anecdotally say that dating apps is a really miserable experience, and they feel kind of hopeless about it. It's not like they are intentionally not trying to find a significant other. They're just struggling to do so. So it's not necessarily young people's fault that they haven't found someone marriageable or of marriage quality yet. Not everybody is as lucky as Jake Bongiovi and Millie Bobby Brown. I know a lot of people, especially in the cities, who have almost this like mythical idea of finding the one, this perfect person who they're going to have this like magical syncing with, and the planets will collide and they will have this overwhelming like feeling of, yes, this is my eternal person. Not to be a cynic, but I actually think there's multiple people out there who could be well suited for you. I do think it's a process of discernment dating, and you need to be able to sort out what qualities are conducive to long-term partnership and which ones are just superficial and do not matter. And when you look at Taylor Swift as a case study, she dated 15 people: Joe Jonas, Jake Gyllenhaal, Harry Styles, Calvin Harris, Tom Hiddleston, Joe Alwyn, who's a very interesting one because she was with him for 7 years and never got a ring. The question is, what's going on there? And again, you all are free to disagree with me here, but I don't think you find the one. I think you make the one. I do think you're searching for someone with like 85, maybe 80% compatibility on essential issues across the board. That includes whether or not you want to have children, religious orientation, political persuasion, all that jazz. But the rest is going to be compromise and a little bit of contention, as Jordan Peterson would say. You're trying to find someone who's going to challenge you to be a better person. And so they're not going to be like your identical carbon copy. They're not going to be someone of your dreams necessarily. It's going to be someone that you're going to work with over the long haul to help each other, to be not just a companion, but to be someone who is like a sounding board, someone who is going to encourage you to grow, to go into hardship, to go into the trenches, to go into battle with. Taylor Swift even has a song called The One, which I actually love. I think it's a beautiful song, but it does reinforce this idea that there is this one person intended for you. Another song she has called Invisible String, a universe has to gravitate that person to the other like a magnet, and it's destined to happen, and all of that. And I agree that that is a really beautiful concept that is also cemented by Disney movies and the fairy tales and the princesses and things like that. I do think it is a tragedy that in the pursuit of perfection, a lot of young women following Taylor Swift's example in all of these songs, all of the emotion and longing for this ideal person is laced into her music. Women are being very selective and they're very picky. And I'm not saying you compromise on non-negotiables. I'm not saying that you sacrifice even an inch on things that are absolutely essential for a 60-year marriage that'll end up with both of you on a rocking chair, looking out at your legacy, your grandchildren. Like, you want a conversation partner who will never, you'll never tire of talking to. But again, maybe there's a lot of young women out there who are chasing kind of what Taylor Swift was personally chasing, and 15 boyfriends go by, years and years go by, and then you finally do get engaged to your person, but you're almost 36, so you're 35 years old. And look, I think with medical technology today, the advancements are amazing. The biological clock that used to be ticking very loudly for women is not ticking as loudly because, we have help now. We have a better understanding of our reproductive systems, and like child rearing is possible later and later. I definitely know women in my family who have had children at an older age, and I don't think the fear mongering there is helpful. However, it's not the best way to go about it. So I think two things can be true at the same time. Anything is possible. Women can find love at any age. They can even have children. I just don't know if it's advisable to go through so many dating sagas, which, ideally you learn something from every relationship and then you apply it to the next one, and you don't end up having a very long roster before you find your person. So again, I don't understand how it took this long from that sense. I had 2 horrifying heartbreaks, and after those, I was like, okay, I know what I'm looking for. I don't need to think that deeply about this anymore. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay, this is what you're looking for. 15? 15? What? Maybe she's just evolved and she's more mature now to realize that, I'm 35. And I think I might have to compromise on a few things. I mean, I don't pretend to know the inner dynamic of their relationship. I don't know if the chemistry is off the charts or, how they interact. However, the commentary has been so far that Travis Kelce is dumber than a box of rocks. She, on the other hand, is quite bookish, quite brilliant. What are their conversations like? I don't know if there's a ton of compatibility on the intellectual level, but again, we don't know why people work, and we're not here to judge, but could it be possible that Taylor has evolved and is mature now to know that sometimes you do have to just marry the guy who's good for you right now and work it out as life's trials and tribulations happen? And don't give up when that happens, because life sucks and then you die and you just gotta keep going? Maybe? Truthfully, I didn't intend to start this video by overanalyzing whether Taylor and Travis are actually the real deal or the merits of their relationship, but I sort of feel compelled to because, again, of the insane negative overreaction to Millie Bobby Brown marrying Jake Bongiovi at such a young age and then having a child. Just a few tweets for you to show you how unhinged the internet was, because they started a family at a young age, which used to be very normal for most of civilization. One tweet: she didn't even allow herself to be young, rich, and hot. 21 and married with a baby. She's acting like an Alabama Christian. Okay, so rude. And maybe not everyone wants to go out there and be a degenerate and sow their wild oats. Maybe they just find someone they really click with and they just start a life together, and it's not that complicated. But, I think this really shows the societal pressures to go wild, have fun, be a party animal. And even if you do find someone who comes along your path that you're I'd like to spend the rest of my life with this person. I think they're great. Now, just wait till you're older. You don't know anything yet. Your cognitive development is not good enough for you to judge whether that person is great to commit to. You should just test the waters some more and get a few more data points under your belt. Like, it's just so sad. Another tweet, this one was later deleted, but I captured it. It said, "Is nobody in her immediate circles an adult with a functioning frontal lobe? Married at 20 and an adopted baby at 21 is insane." Someone else wrote, "They let 21-year-olds adopt?" Another one, "Isn't she 11? Haha, that's funny. That's a play on words because her character's name is 11 in Stranger Things." Another one, "Millie want to live that adult life so bad. Take a break." And last one, "I like Millie, but she is speedrunning life for what? Like, I don't know. I swear she's just bored." It's really weird that people on the internet are praying for this couple's downfall as new parents. They're praying for Millie to be miserable. They're discouraging adoption, which, yes, is allowed at 21 years old. And I think what this really exemplifies is that 21 years old, historically very much an adult, is now considered like still just a little baby. Like, you're a baby, you're an adolescent at 21 years old apparently. 30 is the new adult. But other reactions to Millie Bobby Brown adopting were almost like embarrassing cries for help from Gen Z and millennials they seem to be cognizant of the fact that they haven't accomplished nearly what she has, but they're almost sort of coping with that, maybe because there's some internal grief that they're suffering with. So you can see how much that arrested development, delayed adulthood has been normalized in our culture. And when I look at Millie Bobby Brown, who's 21, I look at Taylor Swift, 35, what we might be seeing is a division line between Gen Z and millennials. Gen Z, it almost seems like is waking up slowly from this coma of being like culturally depressed. Young men are not doing well right now in terms of mental health, in terms of isolation, in terms of dating across the board. Millennials, on the other hand, they're a bit older. They're in their 30s. I think they still have these sort of outdated ideas of, I'm going to be the feminist, workhorse, and the guy is going to engage in hookup culture. I mean, they both are, and they're going to find each other later in life or maybe date for 10 years and then get married. I think you're starting to see Gen Z be a bit countercultural in this respect and maybe find those traditional pillars of society, marriage and child rearing. Me personally, I think getting married and having a child, although I have not reached those milestones yet, but I very much want to and intend to, doing it at a young age, I very much respect because I think it forces you to grow up. So for all the people out there shaming Millie Bobby Brown for saying, hey, like, aren't you a little bit too immature for this? Actually, I think she and her husband, they probably were, but I think once they did the thing and they are having the child, I guarantee that they're going to be more well-adjusted humans that actually have a pretty strong stake in society now than those who are, gaming until they're 30 or so. It forces you to earn a livelihood, to provide for your family. It forces you to be less selfish, to be more selfless, and that's an important human virtue that family does tend to cultivate. So all that is to say is let's support both Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, who have found each other, which you could applaud at face value no matter what, because marriage is a beautiful thing that we should celebrate and preserve, and we want that marriage to last. We don't want it to be just a fleeting thing, and, we don't want to have more Hollywood divorces that are extremely common. We can also say that Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bongiovi are doing an extremely admirable, noble thing that used to be ubiquitous. And I think it'd be cool if we made it, what they're doing, even a little bit more common. Speaking of marriage and children, reproduction, there's a new technology out there that's being developed by Orchid, embryo screening. The idea is that you can test for the predisposition for serious health conditions in an embryo, in a child. We think there's a bit of a moral slippery slope there, but for more on that, click here.